Yo, what is going on, y'all? It's your boy HD MMA back at it again with another video. Today, we are going over my picks and predictions for UFC 330 that's going to be happening this Saturday. Overall, it is a pretty decent card. We got some recognizable names on here. Of course, we got the co-main and main of Makhachev and Gary and Dern and freaking Jillian Robertson. And then we got some unks on the card. This is a bit of a unk fest going on this card. We got Neil Magny, the Cockroach King. We got a lot of guys over in that over the mid 30s, hump over the 35 hump. Charles Johnson, Jeremiah Wells in here. Got Eric McConico. And some other unks that I can't remember. But yeah, we got Orboy on the card. Freaking Jose Ochoa pulled out of his fight. So Charles Johnson's fighting a nobody. And you got, Joe Alvarez going up against freaking, who is it? Who's he going up against? I can't remember. I actually can't remember. Oh, we'll get to that. Yeah. Yeah, so it should be some fun fight. Should be some unk. I'm expecting a couple unk upsets. Or unk W's, if you will. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get on to this. First fight opening up the early prelims, and it is. And I also have a bit of a hot take, a bit of a controversial pick in that main event. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that. First fight, early prelims, and it is Jeremiah Wells versus Miktabek Orblai. I'm going with Orblai in this one by unanimous decision. I think he can out grapple Jeremiah Wells. Wells, he's a big welterweight and a strong, powerful dude for the division. But Orblai, he's got the ladderman skill. He's got very good wrestling, very good pace, very good pressure. He gets the takedowns really well. I think in his last fight, he broke the welterweight record for most takedowns attempted and landed in a welterweight fight. So, he can work for all 3 rounds, pushing the pace, pushing the grappling. And Wells, who had a good comeback win against Themba Grimbo in his last one, where he kind of got pushed up against the cage and pressured into the grappling in the first round, but he came back in the second and third and ended up getting the win. Reversing positions and stuffing the takedowns of Grimbo. But Orblai, I think he has way better wrestling than Themba Grimbo, and I think he can push the pace for all 3 rounds, grappling Wells and not getting sort of strength and power mogged in the fight. So yeah, I'm going with Orblai to get this one done with grappling. Throw big ground and pound as well once he gets dominant position. That's one thing Orblai does really well, is he is very good at throwing damaging ground and pound to make guys kind of sort of quit mentally and not really want to be in there with him. Or make them very hesitant of the takedown once he gets into the later rounds, and just sort of open up openings on the feet also, and just make them scared and tentative in the fight as a whole. So yeah, I'm going with Orblai to do that all 3 rounds and get the dub off that. So yeah, moving on, we got Neil Magny versus Ramiz Brahimaj. I'm going with Neil Magny in this one. I'm going with Neil Magny to cockroach Max and snuff out freaking Ramiz Brahimaj in the final rounds, in the later rounds, build himself back up into the fight. Ramiz Brahimaj, he is a decent prospect. He has some good wins. But they're against lower level competition. I remember he's similar Billy Ray Goff and Austin Vanderford and stuff like that in a couple of his last ones. but he got sort of big dogged and like outpaced and like bullied against Punahele Soriano. And I know Soriano's like a big like dude. Like he's stocky and he's big and built that way. Um but if you're getting pressed up and like bullied in the grappling even against Soriano, I think Neil Magny is going to be able to do that to you in the later rounds, especially where in that fight also with Soriano, Brahimai was did get like slowed down. He did slow down a lot in the later rounds, in the grappling as well. And when he's on the back foot or when he's like getting like pressured, not getting like shot up against, but getting like clinched as in the getting clinched up and like getting freaking just bullied and getting like made to work, he does like slow down a lot. And I think Neil Magny can do that as well. Cockroach Max take a bit of like might get Brahimai might like push him up against the fence, throw like a kick or like some punches with some like combos with the punches, and freaking push Neil Magny up against the cage a bit in the first. But as the round goes on, I see Brahimai like coasting a bit. I see him getting slowing down a bit, getting a bit more tired as the fight goes on. I see Neil Magny like eventually reversing positions. Maybe like Brahimai goes for like the guillotine he goes for in the later rounds. Magny slips his head out, and like gets mount or something and gets dominant position and like throws ground and pound or like or freaking goes for a sub that gets in, goes for like a Darce or something like that. Uses his reach, those long arms of his, and freaking in like either submits Soriano or makes it like or sways the round in his to his favor enough to get the round to win the round and win the fight off that. So yeah, I'll see that unanimous decision, or maybe even like a late round finish, like a late third round finish, in like the final minute where he like gets on a position in TKO's Brahimai or like or gets a freaking or gets a sub late round with like a Darce or like a rear naked or something like that. So yeah, I'll see that happen in this fight. Moving on, we got Rafael Tobias versus Lucas Fernando. I'm going with Lucas Fernando in this one. He's a big dude for the division. He's tall, he's rangy, he's got the reach advantage. And freaking Rafael Tobias, he looked very bad in his last fight against Dair Nurgaje, where he was like getting outstruck and he had just generally low fight IQ in that fight. He wasn't getting the takedowns, or he wasn't shooting on Dair Nurgaje when he had a clear like grappling advantage. He was just kind of like standing and banging on the feet with him, where he was getting tagged up and outstruck. And if he does that again, in this fight, which I think he's gonna do, I just think he's got that like Brazilian, like willingness to just like stand on the feet, even though you're good on the grappling. That's something that a lot of Brazilians do, where they just have very low fight IQ and they just want to like stand and bang with guys and just like trade on the feet. Even though they have like really good grappling themselves, there's just a willingness that they have with themselves. I don't know what it is. I think it's like those. I think it's like their sparring culture. They like whenever you see Brazilians spar, they do like just slug it out and just trade in the pocket. No matter like who they are, even if they're like grapplers or like who they are, they just like slug it out with no headgear, just trade in the pocket with each other and throw big punches. With each other. So I think that's what like attributes to that. But Lucas Fernando, he's big for the division. He's powerful. In his last fight, he TKO'd a guy with leg kicks. So he's got dangerous leg kicks um as well, and I think he can just like outpower and just like freaking just piece up freaking ha- Rafael Tobias. Yeah, and I think he's gonna win off of that. Probably late in the first, I would say. I would give that to him like late in the first, or maybe like even early in the second. He gets like a big hook put on him, where he just like his leg gets chopped up into oblivion, to where he can barely stand, or his like movement is extremely compromised, and Fernando lands like a big hook or like a big right hand on him and puts him away. I can see that happening. So yeah, um, freaking Lucas Fernando, late first round, early second TKO win for him. Puts a big hook on him after like chopping at the leg and destroying it. Um, and puts him away. So yeah. Moving on to the opener of the prelims, and it is Luke. I almost said Lucas. Freaking Vicente Luque versus Trayshawn Gore. I'm. Hold on, y'all. Sorry, my mom just um called me by mistake. Yeah, I'm going with Lucas. Why do I keep on saying Lucas? I'm going with Vicente Luque in this one to get it done with a round one sub. Trayshawn Gore, even though he's coming off a win, it was against Asmat Bakoyev, where he came back in the third round and ended up subbing Bakoyev. Because Bakoyev had like sort of gassed out, beating him up. Um, and yeah, I don't think Gore is all that. I don't think Luque is that washed to where he would lose to a guy like Trayshawn Gore, who is only 7-4 in his career. Um, yeah, I think Luque is just way too good for him. I don't know why the matchmakers would put this would a freaking uh make this fight. Um, I don't know if they just want to like boost up Luque, or they thought Trayshawn Gore was really that good to where he can beat a guy like Luque, but I think Luque still got it. And even though he's like washed and stuff like that and has been looking good in his most recent fights, he is coming off a win off of Calvin Gastelum, where he walked him bad and subbed him. And yeah, I just think he's, even though he's washed, I think he still levels above a guy like Trayshawn Gore, who is very stationary, very like susceptible to just getting pressured and like backed up to the fence and just getting teed off on. Doesn't really have that good of defense. Is kind of like powerful, but he just like he's not that technical. Not that good on the ground. And then like I said in his last one, he was getting just dominated and beat up against Bakoyev and getting out grappled. He was getting outclassed in that fight until Bakoyev just gassed him out, or until Bakoyev just gassed out trying to like finish him, and then he came back. He didn't really have any moments in that fight outside of the third round with the sub. So yeah, I think Luque was above him in the technique, coming up from welterweight. I think he can rock Gore bad, put Gore on the back foot, um, drop him bad, and eventually geez, that's something on my pants. Um, drop him on the feet and latch up like a Darce or Anaconda that he's very trusty with getting very reliable submission for him. Um, And yeah, I think he can get it done off that. I would say like late in the first, not late in the first, but like in the middle of the first, after like filling it out, and after like Gore like sort of um throwing his own stuff. They throw a bit more. They like exchange for a bit on the feet. Luque like hurts him with the right hand. Um, drops Gore and puts him away with a sub. So yeah, I see this being a easy win for Luque. Moving on, we got Dante Johnson versus Eric McConico. I'm going with Dante Johnson in this one. Even though I'm a bit worried, and I see this fight as very like close. I see this fight as like extremely close, extremely like even matched fight for both guys. Um, I don't think Johnson is all that, especially with his last win with his split decision over Cody Brundage, where Eric McConical also got a split decision win over Cody Brundage. So I see this fight is so like evenly matched for me. I think if Johnson, if either guys have an advantage, I think Johnson has an advantage with his physicality. I think he's a bit faster and more explosive than McConico, whereas McConico has like the frame advantage, and the height advantage. Like he has a bigger reach than him, and I think he's a bit McConico's a bit more technical on the feet. He's a bit like prettier with his striking, whereas Johnson is a bit more like or unorthodox and a bit more like throwing looping shots and like trying to get on the and trying to like do like funky stuff on the outside and stuff. He doesn't really like pop his jab or like throw straight right hands down the pipe or anything, or straight left hands on the pipe, because they're he's a southpaw. My bad. He doesn't really do that too much. He kind of like just looks for hooks and looping shots over around the guard and over the top on guys. And I see that being a detriment for him in this fight, because McConico is good about throwing the jab and throwing the straight left behind it, and he does like just pop the straight left out as like just one strike, or he does like throw it as a 1-2, or he like just throws the jab. He's very good at shooting down the middle, McConico, and I think that can help him a lot, especially with the reach advantage that he has in this fight. But I think overall Johnson will land more damaging shots on McConico. He'll land faster. I think he'll beat McConico to the punch a bit more in the exchanges. Like Johnson will go first and like not wait for McConico to throw. And yeah, not wait for McConico to throw his lead hand and then try to like slip it or in like freaking or try to just like do like an egotistical head movement kind of thing where you wait for the straight shots of McConico fires and it lands on Johnson before he can react. I think Johnson will be first. He'll press the action a bit more. He'll pressure McConico back a bit more, and he will like land the more just damaging and more effective shots as a whole. Um, I don't see this fight going to the grappling at all. I think both guys sort of like to keep it on the feet. I think McConico would be the one shooting if it does go. That can also be trouble for Johnson if McConico decides to shoot. I don't think Johnson is like a bit susceptible to being like held on the ground for an extended period of time, and I also don't like that reality for him either. So I think it'll be a very, very close fight, very evenly matched fight. But I think Johnson will like sway the decision to his favor with a bit more damage and a bit more like shots landed. That's one thing. I feel like Johnson also throws more than McConico as well. He throws more like combinations and stuff. Um, and I see that being the thing that sways the fight into his favor on the scorecard. So yeah, overall, going with Johnson, split decision. Maybe he wins like the first and second, and then McConico like rallies a bit back in the third. So yeah. Moving on, we got Charles Johnson versus Eduardo Chipolin. I'm going with Charles Johnson in this one. This was supposed to be Jose Ochoa, but he pulled out. And you're not beating Charles Johnson on what, like 2 days, 3 days notice. That's just not gonna happen. I see Charles Johnson, building into the fight, throwing it, landing his teep, landing his like right, his freaking straight shots down the middle. Um, yeah, and I just see him building into the fight that way, getting his rhythm, and then eventually just slamming out Eduardo over here in the second with like a long looping like uppercut or like a long looping like right straight as freaking uh Eduardo maybe tries to like exit and reset. Johnson just lunges forward, puts a bomb on him, and puts him away. So yeah, not much to say. I didn't really research Eduardo. I mean, he lost to he beat a Vietnamese guy on the Contender Series to get into the UFC in the first place. I think they signed him off that. I don't really know. He KO'd the guy, so I'm assuming they signed him over that. But he's lost to guys that like on the regional scene that have like been in the UFC and got cut, or like have been on the Contender Series and like have not been signed. He lost to Davey Bittencourt. On the regional scene, he was a guy that like was on the Contender Series. Lost that fight and didn't get signed to the UFC, and he got beaten by him. And he also got in his early career, he got subbed by Caleson Rodriguez, who was in the UFC, sort of a mid-level like bantamweight. That was like sort of like win two, lose one, win three, lose one, that kind of guy, like a sort of journeyman at bantamweight. He ended up losing to him as well. So he's lost. He has like a bit of reputation to losing to guys that are UFC level, like sort of mid level UFC fighters, or like barely UFC level, if that. So yeah, I don't think he's UFC level, and even if he is, I don't think he's like Charles Johnson level of UFC level, and this is also at a catch weight as well. So yeah. Moving on, we got we got Chidi Njokuani versus Joel Alvarez. I'm going with Joel Alvarez in this one. I would say a round one sub. Chidi Njokuani, he's a very good Muay Thai guy, very good base for it. Just came off a war with Carlos Leal, where they went back and forth. It was a back and forth scrap on the Houston card. But yeah, I don't think he has the grappling to ward off a guy like Jose Alvarez, or not Jose Alvarez, Joel Alvarez, who's moving up to lightweight. I mean, moving up to welterweight, was a lightweight before, has that lighter man skill, and I think he's gonna be able to take down Chidi Njokuani and freaking just sub him. We haven't really seen Chidi Njokuani's ground game, and when it's been taken to the ground against him, he's not that good at on his back. He's not that good at like, he has some like decent get ups, but I don't think it's on the level of to where it can fend off against a guy like Alvarez. I know Alvarez sort of prefers to strike a bit. He has that like long guard, and he like has a very active like lead hand, like with the jab and stuff. But I think it would be best for him to grapple in this fight. And he does have some good grappling. He's gotten subs against, freaking at lightweight against guys. I can't remember their names. But they are against some decent like guys at lightweight. And he was like moving very good on the ground against like Vicente Luque when they fought. So yeah. And I also think he has like the youth advantage, well, and a bit of and like a speed advantage as well. I think that can be also be good for him. He also uses high kicks very well. And yeah, I just think when it gets to the grappling, I think there will be a clear advantage in the favor of Alvarez. So yeah, like round one sub, maybe he gets the back of they get into it like a clinch exchange after trading a bit on the feet. And Njokwani, he's not that good on the back foot also as well. He does like open up a bit on the back foot. That's what Liao did to him very well. He pressured him, had Njokwani like pressured up against the fence or on the back foot, and he was landing really well on him after he got him there. So yeah, I think Alvarez can do the same as well. Um, and yeah, round one sub like I would say like a Darce choke for Alvarez for like a rear naked for him. Gets it in the first round. Moving on, the opener of the main card, and it is Edson Barboza versus Esteban Ribovics. I'm going with Esteban Ribovics in this one. I'll go with a round 3 TKO. Edson Barboza, he's been bouncing up from like lightweight and featherweight and stuff like that. But yeah, I think Ribovics, he's the younger fighter. He's the prospect that got hype behind him. Coming up a loss to Gamrot. But in this fight, I don't know, that was to the grappling. In this fight, he's not gonna have to worry about the grappling of Barboza. Barboza, he's mainly just a striker. Muay Thai guys coming in to stand and trade, and bang with guys. And I think Ribovics is gonna have the youth advantage. He's gonna have a durability advantage. In this fight, I think he's gonna be able to go like speed for speed with Barboza. Barboza, he's slowing down. He's 40 years of age, coming off a KO win. I mean, a KO loss to Jalen Turner, where he got just battered up, and brutally finished. And I think Ribovics is going to be able to land hooks on Barboza, and I think he's going to be able to just stay in there and trade with Barboza. Barboza, he's not that good at when you trade with him, he's not good at doing that. And when you pressure him, he's not good at doing that. And I think Ribovics can do that very well against Barboza. And I just think when it goes to the later rounds, Ribovics is going to have a clear advantage. He had that dog fight against Zellhuber. And that what it was against Zellhuber, who is like very shit that we're now finding out. But he had a big dog fight where he was pushing the pace and going after Zellhuber in the later rounds. And I think just when it goes to the later rounds, Ribovics is going to have a clear cardio advantage. He's going to be the fresher guy. He's going to be the one that's pressing forward and like working Barboza and putting the pace on him. And I think Barboza just wilts to that. Whenever Barboza gets out of the first round and goes to the second and third, he's just not the same man. He just turns into a complete shell of himself, throws like 5 strikes around, and doesn't have any output at all. So, yeah, you're not gonna be able to survive fighting like that against a guy like Ribovics. So, yeah, Ribovics late rounds TKO, maybe even like early in the second, he finds like a big hook on Barboza where he gets inside, or he like catches him with a combo where he like throws like hooks and then he throws a kick behind it. That's something he does very well. And gets combos with kicks, like with high kicks and stuff like that. So yeah. Moving on, we got Mansour Abdul Malik versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I'm going with Mansour Abdul Malik in this one. First round KO. Stoltzfus is very slow. He has a bit of a grappling, some like decent grappling where he like on the Contender Series where he broke Joe Piper's arm after like a slam. But I think Abdul Malik is way faster than Stoltzfus, way more explosive. Younger, he has the frame advantage, the height advantage, big physicality advantage, and I think he's going to be able to pressure. Although he is coming off a TKO loss to Yusri Belgarui, where he just got battered and outclassed, and Abdul Malik. But Dustin Stoltzfus, he's a massive step down in competition from Belgarui. Um, and I think Abdul Malik is not gonna have to worry about the technical like precision of Stoltzfus. He's not gonna have to worry about the precise kickboxing and stuff like that. Um, I think he had. I think he's gonna be like strong enough and like know enough to defend against the grappling of Stoltzfus, and I think at range, um, I think he's gonna be able to blitz in and land big shots on Stoltzfus, where that was a big problem for him against his fight with Kelvin Gastelum, where Gastelum was getting on the inside and just piecing up Stoltzfus with boxing combos. Um, Malik doesn't really throw combos. He's more of like a single shot, like overhand kind of guy. But I do see like the speed of Malik and the explosiveness being a big factor in this one and stifling Stoltzfus on the feet and him like just getting freaking getting like startled by that and that leaving an opening for Abdul Malik to land like a big right hand over the top and hurt Stoltzfus and put him away. So yeah, Abdul Malik first round KO, maybe late in the first. Blitzes in on Stoltzfus after maybe like feigning a takedown as well. Blitzes in on him, lands a big overhand, puts him down. Moving on, we got Jalen Turner versus Cowboy Fernandez. I'm going with Jalen Turner in this one. I'm going with him by a unanimous decision. Yeah, open stance matchup. Fernandez, he's very good at throwing that lead. The lead freaking not the lead, the rear leg kick. Is coming off a win over Harry Hardwick where he just chopped and obliterated the legs of Hardwick to a TKO finish. But that's not really going to be a factor in this one since it is an open stance matchup. Um, and Jalen Turner, he's very good at whenever guys since he's so like just long for the division and tall, he's very good at freaking um throwing punches over the lead over the leg kicks of guys. Whenever guys try to chop at the legs at him, um he can just throw like straight down the pipe over their leg kicks and hurt them bad or even like just drop them. I think he did that to Moicano where Moicano tried to throw a leg kick and he just threw a straight right down or a straight left down the pipe or 1-2 down the pipe on Moicano and dropped him bad. I think he's gonna be able to do that in this fight where if Fernandez tries to chop at the legs, he just throws down the pipe over the top of him and catches him. I also see the elbows of Turner being a good weapon in this fight since Fernandez is such shorter than him. I see Fernandez trying to close the distance and freaking just Turner meeting him with elbows, intercepting him with that. The straight punches of Turner, just the boxing in general. I see that just being a problem. Fernandez, he's only had like 3 fights in the UFC, so he's not that experienced. Whereas Turner, I know his record is a bit ugly, but he is very dangerous. He does sort of like quit in the later rounds. Turner does. And if you can like pressure and break him and sort of get dominant position on him, he does just kind of wilt. The heart problem in general for Turner, that's a big problem for him. But when it's on the feet and when it's like a straight just like sort of kickboxing or a straight just striking match in general, it is extremely hard to beat a guy like Turner. So yeah, I see just the frame, the height, the length, the girth, the tonnage. I've never seen anything quite like it. I just see that being a problem for Kyle Fernandez and being too much for him. So yeah, I think Turner does a lot of damage early in the rounds. And I just see that I see Fernandez just like sort of wilting to that and not being able to really get going past once he gets like hurt and once he gets like cut and just battered and just beaten over the first and a little bit in the second to where he can't do much in the third once Turner slows down. So yeah, overall just Turner a bloody sort of like very dangerous fight for Fernandez. So yeah, I'm going with just Turner to win this one off the damage, off like sort of knockdowns as well. I see that happening, and yeah. Moving on, we got the co-main event, and it is Mackenzie Dern uh versus Jillian Robertson. I'm going with Mackenzie Dern in this one. I'm going with a unanimous decision. Um, yeah, I'd see the both these girls having very similar skill sets. But I see Dern having way more hustle and way more activity, whereas Robertson, she is a very good grappler in her own right, and she can like contend with Dern on that level. But she's just absolutely non like she is absolutely non-violent on the feet. She's like the opposite of being like violent on the feet. She has no power in her shots, no ability to hurt another human being with her hands or with any of her strikes. And I see Dern just being able to walk forward on her, sort of blockhead, blitz her down on the feet, land more, just be the one working her on the feet and in the grappling. I see them having some scrambles. I see Dern like sort of shooting on I see Dern shooting on Robertson as well. I don't think Dern's gonna be scared of the grappling of Robertson since she is a good grappler in herself. So I don't see Dern being like hesitant on the back foot or being like worried for worried to be on bottom against freaking Robertson as well. I think she can reverse position. I think she can like get up from the bottom if she wants to. And I just think on the feet she's gonna be the more physical fighter in there, which helps in women's MMA. And she's gonna be like the more powerful one. I see Dern carrying more power in her hands than Robertson as well. I just think the physicality, the hustle, the pace that Dern's gonna put on her, the pressure, the willingness to go forward. I see that being a problem for Robertson. So yeah, overall, Dern wins activity. I can see her winning the later rounds, the championship rounds and stuff like that. I see Dern winning that and getting away and taking it to the scorecards and getting the decision. Yeah. Moving on, we got the main event, and it is Islam Makhachev versus Ian Gary. This might be controversial. This might be, what are you doing? This might be the greatest pick or the worst pick. But I'm going with Ian Gary to win this fight by decision. Now I know that the Islam fanboys, the blah this guy asked his wife I see that just flooding the comments. Y'all might be screaming at you. Y'all might be saying I'm siding with the terrorists of the sport. They're both terrorists, but y'all might be seeing that. Y'all might be scratching your heads, but listen and learn. I just see the frame advantage for Gary being there. I know y'all guys screaming at me. The face off, they look dang near the same height. Islam looked taller. Gary was wearing he was wearing like toe shoes with no like height in the heel, with no like sole in them. And Makhachev was wearing like these like Air Force One S like sort of like high soled shoes. So it just made it look like freaking. It made it look like Islam was taller and Gary was like not that not that tall. It was sort of like even out the heights. It made like Islam look like 6 foot or like 6'1", whereas Gary was standing at his regular height. So it made it like it made it it made the height discrepancy a bit less, but he was still a good bit taller than him in the face off. Like not crazy tall like the a 5'10" to 6'3" difference would be, but it was still a good bit higher, and he has the reach advantage as well. And Gary, he's not gonna go forward on Islam. Islam is way more of a beatable fighter and looks way more defensively irresponsible when he's the one going forward. In all of his fights, Islam when he's either at the center or when he backs up, that's where he's the best. That's where he thrives. When he can counter and we can slip and we can throw shots around the top, or when he can throw, or when he can like sort of when guys walk forward at him and he can shoot on them where they give up their hips. We saw it against Charles and JDM and uh even the Poirier fight. I know I watched like a Che MMA like breakdown where um like the sort of narrative around the Poirier fight where Poirier made Islam look beatable and he cut Islam and stuff like that. Um it was a decent fight, but it wasn't like this like barn burner that everyone like sort of makes it out to be. I know that's the narrative. That's because Poirier is the only kind of one that had some success and like caused damage on the face of Islam. But Islam, he got KO'd early in his career because he was moving forward, doing that blitz. And Poirier was taking the fight to Islam and he was throwing the jab. And Islam, he didn't really have a good game plan in that fight. And he was like sort of going forward on Poirier, and Poirier was landing on him. Like I said, cut him open with the elbow, and was having more success on the feet than some of Islam's other opponents, because Islam was going forward and being like, and because of that, he was open on the feet to strikes. In Gary, he's not going to go forward. He's very good at moving, very good at circling, very good at stomping the knee, using oblique kicks. It's an open stance fight, so the freaking the lead knee stomp is going to be there for Gary all the time. He's going to circle. He's going to like circle to the outside foot and land the knee stomp and circle more and just keep circling until the end of the fight. And I see that when they're like at the center, I see Gary winning the long range game, spamming like body kicks and head kicks as well, the knee stomps. I don't see is Makhachev like having the opportunity to shoot on Gary. I don't see Makhachev getting close enough to freaking like getting close enough to open up a good like shot or open up a good way to him for him to level change and take down Gary. I don't think Gary's gonna like overextend. I don't think Gary's gonna fucking come forward on him and open up his hips like JDM and Charles were doing. I don't think Gary's very good at keeping the fight clean and like keeping at his range and not letting guys like just sort of walk forward on him and go and get into like grappling range or like in the pocket. Islam's very good at like Islam thrives when guys like sort of go into the pocket with him where he can clinch up and get into the clinch and mix in like knees and then just or either just close the distance and hug him and get to the clinch where he can trip him and use trips like that. I don't think the trips are going to be there for Islam as much in this fight because Gary's so much taller than him and has very good just upper body takedowns as well. And I think also good Gary has good enough instincts and is going to be aware enough to defend the traditional wrestling shots like the doubles and the singles against freaking Islam. Islam, he whenever he goes to the single leg, he um he freaking does the leg where he like puts it across for him and he like hikes it up and he freaking tries to reach over the top to get guys down, and that's not going to be there. It's so much fighter. It's so much harder hitting that against a guy that's way taller than you. And you have to like reach up so much, and that's always what Islam sort of goes to whenever he goes for a single leg, and that's not gonna really be there for him since Ian Gary's so tall. And when you do that takedown, you do relies on the guy sort of like being high, their leg like being super elevated, and them having to like hop and balance on one leg. And when the guy's so much taller than you, he's not gonna be hiking up and gonna be like hiked up and like bouncing on one leg. That's not gonna happen whenever he goes for a single. And I think Gary's enough to just everybody's good enough to defend a double. Like there's nothing that special about Islam's double leg to where maybe like the timing, that's all he kind of has. But the I think Ian Gary is going to be well aware to defend a double leg from Islam. And if Islam does get it to the ground, I don't see Gary just being controlled and just being smudged on the ground like JDM was. I think Gary can get up from the ground. I think he can roll for a leg. I think he can scramble. I think he can use his the long limbs of his to create leverage and sort of roll like Islam. I think he'll like make Islam have to worry about a bunch of like leverage points that he's not used to fighting guys that are like shorter than him. Freaking I think he can freaking like I think Gary can sort of make Islam worry about a bit more than he was like against like JDM and stuff, and not freaking and not be as vulnerable to the half guard smudge and like the darts and stuff of Islam. So yeah. Overall, I'm going with Ian Gary fighting on the outside, circling, using the movement, not going forward, being the one on the outside, making Islam go forward and sort of like force the fight on him. And I see that opening up to counters. I see that opening up for like knees in the middle and like elbows and punches and stuff like that for Gary. I just see it. I see Islam like I see the knee stomp being a big factor in this one. Islam freaking uh what was I fucking gonna say? I see like the legs of Islam. Yeah, I see the legs of Islam sort of buckling and being affected. I see Islam being affected by the knee stomp very well, or very like early. I think that's gonna bother him a bit and sort of like make him a bit antsy to go forward and not stay at that range. Or like Islam might just like square up his stance or try to like catch it maybe or something like that. And maybe Islam can do something like that to where he can like bend down and like catch the leg of Gary when he knee stomps. Um, but that can just open him up for like lead head kicks and stuff like that. So yeah, I see I see way too many like sneak advantages for Gary to in order to like reliably pick Islam because he's been so dominant. I think people are like dominance like farming for Islam, if that's what you want to call it, to where he's like, oh, he's been so dominant, no one's giving him any problems, and like he's gonna go out there and just win. He's gonna go out there and just get the takedowns and just do the stuff where they're not really taking into account of the factors that allowed him to be so dominant and allowed him to be so freaking like allowed him to have the effects that he's been, or like or get the results that he's been getting. So yeah. Overall, those are my picks for the card UFC 330. Like I said, I got Ian Gary to upset Islam with a unanimous decision. I got Mackenzie Dern a unanimous decision. Jalen Turner unanimous decision. Mansour Abdul Malik a round one KO. Esteban Ribovics round I would say round two TKO. Joel Alvarez round one sub. Charles Johnson round two KO. Dante Johnson split decision. Vicente Luque round one sub. Uh Lucas Fernando round two TKO. Neil Magny unanimous decision, and Mick Tobacco by unanimous decision. So yeah, those are my picks. Bet the house on them, especially that main event. Like I said, could be good, could be bad, but I'm going with Ian Gary. I'm going with Ian Gary. It's gonna suck for him putting the wife on it, or putting the belt on his wife, and um fucking gonna suck hearing him at the press conferences. Gonna suck hearing him at the freaking on Instagram and on the YouTube, just the media in general, about how he's the greatest and how he's the freaking, he's vegan and all this bullshit. So yeah, that's gonna suck. But I think he's got too many like sneak advantages on the side for it not to be like true. So yeah, that's the video, guys. Be sure to like, comment, sub. I'll be doing a will I be doing a fight man? I don't know. I might be going out. Uh, I might be going out a bit. For a little bit. On Saturday, so I might like miss the prelims and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if I think I'll probably be live in time for the main card. So be sure to stay tuned for that, and we'll be doing a reaction and breakdown as well. So be sure to stay tuned for all those. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, sub, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.